Good morning and welcome to SimWorld today, a Wednesday, March 19th, audio only edition. Bear with us. This is not the return to our audio normal, but just a blip in the radar midweek. We're talking all SimWorld prep, which means one thing and one thing only. It means Maestro is in the booth this morning. Good morning, Maestro. How you doing?
I'm doing great, but I was promised I could be on camera without any clothes on. I'm going to have to review my contract here.
The contract is officially void. I have determined that to be the case. That is just better for all of us. A big night in the Last Dance yesterday, as four more tickets are punched to the quarterfinal rounds. Heartland Zombie Stars takes down Gotham 5. The Yacht Club ends the season and potentially career of Southeast Select head coach Brett Lee. Bay Area Breakers gets a big win over the reigning Trays, and then the H-Town Hoopers overcome a massive Matthew Mozgov night to get a 84 or to get a big win there in the Battle of Texas. So, Maestro, let's just go high level. Any surprises from day four?
I'm going to get it out the way right now. Yes, H-Town. Um, I was concerned about H-Town being able to get their footing, being at home with the delay, everything else. I'm thinking, they're gonna have some issues kind of getting their engine going right there. Boy, was I wrong, and I'm here for every second of it. They handled Lone Star from the beginning, and it was interesting in that it appeared as though they were going to allow Lone Star to, yeah, Mozgov, you do you. We got everybody else, and the way that it played out. And again, I'm not going to take credit for this, but my broadcast partner on the game, Yale, said he had not seen H Town score so well all season, which I found really ironic because they were the number one scoring team in SimWorld Prep, or are the number one scoring team in SimWorld Prep. But he clarified it by saying it was a complete team effort. It was very smooth. It was very complimentary. It was very on par for an very efficient team, and that efficaciousness got his attention. So that was the biggest surprise I had from last night. And I'm thinking to myself, if they found that part of their game, as inconsistent they have been as the number one scoring team in prep, if they found that part of their game, they're going to be dangerous for the rest of the way.
That one was that game as a whole was very interesting because tuning in to the first quarter, I'm not saying I tuned in for just the first quarter, but in that first quarter when Matthew Mozgov is just cooking, you're like, okay, Lone Star's got a shot here, and that shouldn't have been a complete surprise. I mean, this was one of the, we talked about it on Monday that 8-9, 7-10 matchup is about as equal of seeding as you can possibly get,
Hmm.
but not being equal, and 7-10 is the start of that kind of changing. It did not look like a 7-10 matchup after the first quarter because they did everything to stop Mozgov after that opening frame. I mean, he started 5 of 5 from deep. He ends up going 7 of 9. This was like, if you just take high level who had the best game, I think Mozgov leads the way there. But
Yeah.
I thought it was an impressive job by H Town to shut down everything else. You get a really inefficient night from Trader Rose and Morboscus. Those are two guys that this team has relied on pretty heavily. And so you talk about offense. I thought it was really impressive defense, especially in that second quarter when they kind of said, "Okay, we're not actually going to do this anymore. Lone Star, you're gonna have somebody else beat us, and nobody else could ride to the occasion."
Very well said. And again, you're so right. A team that scores so well to have the record they had shows you how much they give up per game, and the fact
hmm
that they fixed that last night was right on point.
It's like the Iowa version, but at SimWorld Prep. Iowa will run all over you when Lemarian Shores is
Yes.
healthy, but they cannot stop a damn soul. All right, let's talk Mozgov because we've had a lot of, we talked Kai Killens early on, we talked LeJorn Tompkins early on, but I thought Mozgov's performance was the best first round performance of anyone in SimWorld Prep. Just the efficiency in which he played the game, um, just that's just a high level outburst from Mozgov. So I'm curious from your standpoint. You are in the weeds of these players, understanding exactly kind of the future that they potentially hold. How much did Mozgov's stock move? Because he's certainly not a shortlist guy. When we were talking at the beginning of this in the preview, we're like, all right, who should we watch out for? And it was Killens, it was Almighty Soul, it was Tompkins, it was Monte Parson. It wasn't Mozgov. So how much did his stock move from a night like last night?
Oh, absolutely, it moved. It if I am in need of a score, for instance, okay, so let's say for 1 second, if SimWorld Prep is SimWorld U,
Mm-hmm.
and I say this all the time, the way that SimWorld Africa and Shah Namdi handles their team, defense first. You know, Gotham Five in a lot of ways, defense first. If Gotham Five actually has scorers, but SimWorld Africa, if they were a U team, I'm looking to recruit Mozgov because I need that scorer, that pure scorer to put me over the top. I have the defense, but I don't have a pure scorer. If I'm looking for a pure scorer, he's it. And you know, and it's so funny I would say this. His stock rising with that sort of offensive output, even in a loss, gets attention of people, much like, and I go back to the person that I picked for the best performance so far overall, Tyrade Bush, the way that he handled his game, even in a loss, scoring output, defensive output, assisting, everything else, the way he incorporated his team, that those are the kind of things that stick with you. And even scouting that, you think, oh wow, that wasn't a loss. That's right. And I think that's what Moskov did last night.
Where do you see his ceiling being, in a
Ooh.
vacuum and compared to? I mean, he went up against Almighty Soul last night. Almighty
Hmm.
Soul ends up with 17-11. Just we're talking purely just like high level recruits. Goes up against Zunda Mazaka. He has 23, and then Devontae Langford, of course, had 19-5-5. So where do you rank him first on his own, and then in terms of his comparison? Because right now, four-star recruit, ranked number 82 in the country, headed to Texas. I mean, none of the first part of that doesn't jump off the screen,
No.
but 25 points last night does.
Well, and you know, that's really not in a vacuum. You go back and look at his performances earlier, even earlier, not you know, not just in this tournament, but in the tournaments leading up to to the Last Dance. I'm sorry, I almost had a last season flashback. And I almost said Race to One. Um, but you know, you look up how okay, you look at how he's been trending all season, and you look at his last two tournament appearances. Not bad at all. As a matter of
Mm-hmm.
fact, each time he was on the cusp of being the most impressive player during the tournament. And then for it to sort of start, you know, culminating now, definitely 85 is not the number for him. I would say right now, thinking about going to the next level, I could easily, without argument, put him in my top 25,
Okay.
even at the lower end of the top 25, just because he's showing that not only can he handle the physical stress, which all these kids can't handle the physical stress of a season like this, but the
Mm-hmm.
mental part is where everything seems to go down. And the fact that in wins or losses, he's been able to maintain really good performances just shows me that he's in a place where he can be productive no matter where he goes if he is put in the right position.
So you were saying if we're projecting him long term, he's a mid to late first round pick, rotation level starting caliber guard that can kind of step in and be a have a big night for you. If we're just looking very much down the road, is that what you would consider his ceiling?
If I'm going need, yes, I say mid to late first. But if let's say if I have a team that's already established and I have a score already and he's just
Mm-hmm.
going to be the icing on the cake, I would consider maybe late first, early second,
Okay.
maybe. But that early second is like really great. Can't quite click on it yet.
Sure. Now, to me, you are our prep expert. I'm never going to pretend to get myself down to your level, not down to, up to your level of knowledge on that level. But to me, I look 6'2" shooter, and I think, okay,
Hmm.
I love the opportunity here, but I'm a little concerned about the size. Do you think that in the
Hmm.
long run for Mozgov, his size ends up being at 6'2"? I mean, he's 17. That he could jump up if he finds his way to 6'4". Suddenly, we're having a much different conversation. But do you feel his size is going to be a concern and part of why you're looking at that late first round kind of time frame right now?
Well, you know that's really interesting, and I'll tell you something. The you know the I almost said psychopathic. I'm
Let's
I'm gonna
avoid
say
that.
yeah, right. Um, Thinking about his size, he's at that height where he's at the line where you're tall enough to ride this ride, right? Where I
Sure.
would feel comfortable with it. You know, I think of like a Gary Payton, players
Hmm.
like that, players
Okay.
who aren't gonna, players who are not gonna walk in a room and make you automatically think the league, right? So but the way he plays removes any fear, much like, and I'm going to keep going back to this example, Gary Payton. The way he plays sort of relieves that physicality of size that might be needed. Now, let's grant it, let's be honest about it. When you get a player like him that's a pure scorer, you're not getting him because you run a system where it's going to be bang, bang, half court,
Right.
body on body, chest on chest, elbow on elbow. You're not really doing that. So I think in the right system, not only would he fit, he would thrive.
Hmm. Well, look, he gives me a high level TJ McConnell vibes.
Ooh,
2.1
nice.
assists per 19 minutes. Like he's capable with the ball in his hands. Point 0.5 turnovers. I mean, we're looking at a 2 to point 0.5 turnover ratio, which is very, very difficult. So to
Mm-hmm.
sustain, plus
Mm-hmm.
45% shooter from deep. I mean, yeah, there's some defensive limitations. Part of that's due to his size, but just look at what he does on the offensive side of the ball, and last night being the great example of it. It feels to me like it's a guy that you say, hey, look, he might not be an all star. Maybe he does flirt with that, but there's nothing wrong with just being what I think he could be. He's like a 10-year pro guy based off
Yeah,
just that
yeah,
portfolio. Shoot the ball, assist the ball, does not turn the ball over. Those are
exactly.
difficult attributes. All right, last little point. So 4 teams won last night. Heartland Zombie
Mm-hmm.
Stars, the Yacht Club, Bay Area Breakers, and of course the H-Town Hoopers. All of that sets us up for the quarterfinals. Did the champion play last night in the Last Dance?
What I've seen so far, I'm gonna say no, and I'll tell you why. The ill just really appear,
Mm-hmm.
though, that they're on a mission, and I'm seeing how everybody sort of jumped on their comp early, but but it's so interesting. Their win, as dominant as it was done in a way that I think spoke kind of against what everybody thought that the ill was going to be able to do. The ill are really putting themselves as one of the most complete teams here, but the other team and unfortunately they're on the same side of the bracket. So for me, the ill, yeah, but the other team, the OGs, have seemed to found that late season magic that
Sure.
Jersey seems to find at the right time. We know what they did last year with Coach Dodge, and now what they're doing again this year. They started off, a lot of us was going meh, and then toward the end of the season, we're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
So and again, something about that jersey, something about those two teams with the way that they're able to put their stuff together, and the fact that the OGs probably have, I'm not going to say if not the best, one of the best players left in the tournament, LeJaron Tompkins the third.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a bad bullet to have in your gun going the rest of the way, considering the fact that he's probably been the most consistent performer
Sure.
thus far throughout the tournament.
So if you're looking at it, so we talked about this earlier, and you unsurprisingly spot on. We thought there would be more upsets besides just the originators, and of course we got two of those last night with Lone Star and Bay Area advancing. So who do you like then? You said the OGs. You like that. You like the ill. Do you think this
Mhm.
is this Philadelphia's tournament to lose, or would you take the
Ooh.
field?
Ooh, you know what? It's prep, baby. I think I'm still gonna take the field.
Mm-hmm.
With surprising performances, and by that I mean, for instance, let's go back to H Town last night. Who'd have had on their bingo card that H Town would have played the type of defense they played, combined with the type of offense that they played? Because they've
Sure.
not shown us any of that all season, right? There's a couple other wins that went that way too. Let's even go back to Gulf Coast winning the way they won, right? They showed us stuff we haven't seen all season. Heck, even the Bay Area Breakers, as solid as they have been, right? We're talking teams that weren't good from long distance, all of a sudden finding a way to shoot high 30%, low 40% from beyond the arc. Teams that weren't good in transition, all of a sudden shooting, in some cases 60% and a half, because they're getting so many breakaway transition points that it's just ridiculous. It looks like Christmas at Walmart. The reality here is some of these coaches are finding a way to put their team in a position to show something they haven't put on film. Also, I keep saying film. Lord, come on, man, Maestro, get into the 1900s. Put on VCR video
There we
all
go.
season. They're actually able to do it now, right? So I'm gonna still take the field, but if you were gonna tie me down and put me on in the, like strap me to like a
Sure.
a metal frame and like put a car battery on me, which is actually kind of cool. I would be I would be
Weird
okay
kink.
with still sticking with the ill and the OGs, but I'm gonna take the feel.
Okay. Okay. So got the field. Certainly a decent field to take when you've got Beast of the East, the Yacht Club, of course, marching on. And a quick correction: I said Lone Star was advancing Best Coast to play Best Coast. Obviously, that is not the case because it's H Town won last night, right? We're not
Yeah.
getting delusional here. So H Town was the winner there. Bracket will get updated. So that is the first two rounds of SimWorld Prep. All of this rolls on back on Thursday. Heartland Zombie Stars, Philadelphia Elite get things rolling at 6 p.m. Beasts of the East and Yacht Club go 7. Best Coast Ballers in that matchup against H Town at presumably 8. And then Originators, Bay Area Breakers at 9. That is Thursday night. We get back rolling. SimWorld Prep. We will have 4 teams left standing. The OGs trying to repeat. Beasts of the East trying to get their second championship. Philadelphia Elite trying to get Dries Williams his first. We'll get a little bit more of an answer starting on Thursday. Friday, we are off on SimWorld Prep, so it's Saturday, and then all the way back to Monday's championship game. So a full slate of action rolls ahead in SimWorld Prep. And quick heads up, we've got SimWorld U action tonight, including our game of the week, which, hey, look, the SimWorld gods looked upon us and they flexed Kansas, Texas to Wednesday night instead of Thursday night. So that is tonight. Texas hosting Kansas, a chance at the undisputed #1 spot in the Big 12 on the line. And Auburn, South Carolina goes at it at 7 p.m. All right, Maestro, we'll probably get you back on here. It is Wednesday. All of that, again, starts tomorrow. We'll probably get rolling with you on Friday if you're available so we can recap all of the quarterfinal matchups and get you ready for a massive weekend in SimWorld Prep with the semifinals on Saturday. Maestro, appreciate you as always. Appreciate everyone here tuning in. We will be back tomorrow. Talk some SimWorld U here on SimWorld TV, the only place you can see the game, be the game.